afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast Lehr and instructional Propagandacast Lehr. This with me, your host, Master of Instruction Imperial Dane, and today we're covering a slightly different topic. We're covering sort of unit openings, well, more specifically sort of general openings. In that sense, there's sort of like three main directions. Of course, you can always say there's minor directions, small things, but overall sort of just three major ones at the moment going on. We got sort of basically is what we can describe as the standard opening. You get a bunch of infantry and you sort of grab territory, sort of slowly moving out. And so you can sort of do it in different patterns overall, and certainly I suppose you can further go into detail on that. But overall, so you push forward from your base, rather moderate tempo. You gain some territory, you fight the enemy with this, maybe shift around, so trying to ensure you don't get caught in too much trouble, screen your own vital points, so on. Again, it's pretty standard. Generally involves 3 to 4 infantry squads, maybe 2 machine guns if you can get that pretty rapidly, and some few other units, maybe some other stuff there. But overall, that's it. It's basically mainly infantry with 1 or 2 support units, maybe machine guns, some mortars, so on. Nothing huge, nothing spectacular. Then you have sort of another opening here, was sort of seeing, I think, played here by the Oberkommando West. That's sort of the more disrupting opening. Disruptive openings. Oh well, as the name says, specifically aimed at trying to throw your opponent off his game, going for cut-off points, going for vital resource points, close to his territory that way, already in the very early game, sort of trying to basically throw him off his game, harass him, deny him as many resources and cause him to fight as close to his own base as possible and frustrate him that way, bleed him out without actually gaining any resources in the process. It does, of course, have a few sort of issues as well, since basically, I mean, it comes to the trade-off that you're not focusing very much territory. In this case, the Sugoi is not quite going for it fully, but you can sort of see again, he's got the Sturmpire's Kubang, that is a nice chunk of his army, already hanging about there trying to deny Burmese access to his fuel point and other resource points as well. So, I mean, this is basically what he calls sort of disruptive opening. Of course, a disruptive opening is best avoided by, trying to play around it initially until you can sort of deal with it, trying to minimize the effect of the aggressive harassment. You're sure going to try and deny whatever fuel point you want, but again, then trying to play around it, minimizing the effect of then striking him at elsewhere, and again, sort of taking advantage of the fact, again, he's sort of offset his resource gain elsewhere. So, it's a bit like that, Overall, again, it's very much, again, sort of focused on disrupting you. So if you can sort of try and keep it cool, not get phased too much, just try to play around it, you'll do alright. And then we finally have a third one, sort of overall, that's sort of more, it's more Wehrmacht specific, a bit like disrupting bombs, more sort of Oberkommando West. Again, other armies can do it. You can, it's theory, also do it with the third opening. It's a bit hard to describe, it's sort of more of a, how should one describe it? I'm a bit sort of short on words, so you suppose you sort of call it a, swarm approach. That is, you sort of hit the field with a lot of cheaper units, pioneers, Ostroben engineers, re-echelons. They're sort of trying to grab as much as territory as humanly possible. That way, ensuring, I mean, you're going to get some, but also you're not going to be so easily pushed off the field, because simply put, you have a lot more units running around grabbing territory than your opponent. Again, that's a bit important. You get more units out in the field that way quicker than your opponent. Again, very important, that part. And in doing that, of course, you also then have more territory to give, and that's rather what specifically makes it work for the Wehrmacht. It's all about you just hitting as much there, maybe getting empty for 2, that is, trying to perhaps hold some vital points, but actually just having a buffer zone while you then take up and then rapidly hit him with units from the next tier. Again, the other armies can't quite do this as well, though in theory they can try, but so again, it does feature more with the Wehrmacht overall, but you can sort of try as well, get a lot of engineers, try to say hit tier 2, quickly get a T-70 out, or with the Americans, quickly try and rush a lieutenant out or something. With the British, I mean, it's kind of reversed with them, actually, they try to hit 2 as quickly so they can rush out the cheap units, in that sense, which is a bit peculiar, but, and then we go, and of course, that's all the opening here, the Oberkommando West in particular, after the patch, really can't participate in. The closest they can do is just hit the field with a lot of Kubelwagens, I suppose, but and that sort of also plays into sort of disruptive opening, but that's rather how these sort of 3 types of openings go. I mean, it also depends on your play style, really, and sort of what you got in mind. It's not, say, hurtful to sort of try and shift between them, but overall, I mean, you're more likely going to see, again, either sort of a flat style or just standard style opening. Again, disruptive openings are rare, but they can work if you're sort of confident in them and know how to play them around. And again, if you are faced with one, again, try to play around it. Try not to get overly focused on it. Again, that's in part also what your opponent wants you to do. He wants you to get stuck on it, and so just grind yourself down on it. So if you can keep those things in mind, you might find yourself with a few more tools and deeper understanding of the game. And you might be asking, why aren't you sort of doing more specific videos on openings for the different armies? Well, In part because I suppose I just don't favour those, very static things. I mean, it's just like, giving you an IKEA manual. And that's not really what I try to make my channel about, giving people an IKEA manual. Because, an IKEA manual isn't going to make you better at understanding how to make furniture. It's going to tell you how to make, a bloody aardvark or whatever they call their stuff, in 5 seconds. And that's it, really. I mean, it doesn't tell you what to do next. I mean, it doesn't tell you how to make a living room or whatever. And in this case, it doesn't tell you how to win the actual fight if something changes. I mean, overall, better play comes at better understanding the game, the units, tactics, and strategy, and not so much on IKEA manuals. Again, it might help you here and there, but ultimately, in the longer run, I think it's going to overall hurt your growth as a player more than it helps you, at least in my personal opinion. Again, that's also my style of doing things, of course, forgive me there. But again, just trying to understand that and then try to play around with them if you want to. I mean, again, you might suddenly find yourself with a few more sort of options and understandings of the game. I mean, sometimes you just have to experiment and push the limits. And of course, I might sort of try and do more videos specific to the openings there, what you can sort of do with them and sort of what you can try and push them and why you might push them in those directions. I mean, I did something back in the ages there with the Wehrmacht and Soviet openings, though that's probably already rather outdated by now. But again, I might do more if this turns out popular enough. But anyways, just sort of a brief general overview and sort of 3 major styles of openings you can do in the game and sort of maybe how to deal with them. Again, standard is standard. That's more just about figuring out where he is, and then sort of hit him where he is, and then you try to outmaneuver him that way. And of course, for the flat opening, you sort of want to hit the elements, you sort of want to secure area and slowly sort of answer yourself. You also want to kind of aggressively push back with your own tech. You don't want to sit back for too long because otherwise, again, you're going to get hit with a lot of bigger stuff. Like saying if the Wehrmacht does it, could be Panzer Grenadiers, Flame for a half. In particular, is also one they like to rush out 2-2-2s. I mean, in that sense, they do have a lot of options to sort of hit you with. So I mean, in that sense, it does also present a few tricky issues depending on what they also pull it off with Pioneers or Osthoffen. But I think that sort of covers it. Hopefully there's been more instruction. Again, hopefully it has helped you get a better understanding of the game, improved your play. If it didn't, feel free to follow the channel, subscribe to it, like the videos, share it with friends, family, not your enemies, of course, those damn bastards. And of course, let me know in the comments of sort of more other topics you'd like to have covered. As for the Flammhetzer, I don't think there's much point in covering it until Relic buffs it, so it's a bit more useful, to be honest. So that might be a bit wasteful. Of course, there'll be Propagandacast layers on the new Calliope and the Goliath as they hit here sort of during early December. So anyways, thank you all and see you all another time. Goodbye.